Now this is buffer time. Respect.
What is buffer time? Is what buffer time?
Greetings, Buffer Timers. Here we are again. We're going to talk about upper decks this week. Not feeling super great, so I'm just going to ask questions and avoid everything else like the plague. Let's introduce ourselves. I'm Dustin from Best of Trek, Worst of Trek.
I'm Vanessa, and I host a YouTube channel called I Love Bad Star Trek.
I am Scott from Opinions No One Cares About and a proud lower decker.
I'm Ren from Ren Rants.
I'm Josh. You can find me at Wind Grace Project.
Sorry, didn't know how we were doing that one, Grace. I'm Robbie Sherman from Conversations with Robbie Sherman.
Okay, excellent. Only one of us has actually seen the Section 31 trailer, the new one, so we're not going to do that as a news piece this week. We're going to get right into some questions. Why does Ta'ana go by her own personal pain scale?
Not the best practice for a doctor.
She does whatever she wants.
It's true.
I don't know why they let this monster be a doctor. Like, I mean, she's very entertaining to watch, and there's a lot of fun going on with her, but I don't know why she's allowed to basically torture everybody else once she gets this, like, big time fun, going on. I just think maybe she has trouble connecting with people, and that's part of it.
Well, she used to connect with Shax, but haven't seen that this season.
Yeah, what's going on?
That's true.
Yeah.
I do like how her storyline does mirror the doctor's storyline in Voyager when he gets the simulated cold due to his bad bedside manner, and then B'Elanna messes with it to extend it beyond the time he knew it was going to end, and he starts panicking, and then he becomes a better doctor.
Right.
Well, the thing is, though, I just, the doctor himself, the thing is, when the doctor had that on Voyager, he was bragging about how he would never get sick. But that would never get in the way of him treating his patients in the way that would be in accordance with their personal biology. And so, probably to Norman's question, probably. But with Ta'ana, she has allowed her personal experience of pain to inform her the way that she treats her patients. She says in the sickbay, as long as they're well, that I get them in sick and they go out healthy. So what's the problem? That's not all that healthcare encompasses. So I don't know what in her medical training gives her the right to say that my personal pain threshold is what informs how I treat other patients. Can you imagine going into surgery without anesthesia? That's horrifying. So this whole thing made me so uncomfortable.
Wasn't there just a whole issue about that? Some healthcare company was not fully paying for anesthesia?
Yes. So what they would do is they would say, well, your insurance pays for this much anesthesia, and then cut it off once that insurance allocated anesthesia time ran out.
Evil. Oh, God.
I don't know. Did you guys ever hear that story of the guy who got they accidentally didn't give him the knockout portion of the anesthesia, and then they erased his memory of it or whatever, and he woke up with horrible PTSD for years afterwards.
Yeah, that happens every once in a while where you're not fully out and you remember parts of it.
Yeah, so you want it.
Or you have the paralytic part of anesthesia, but not the pain anesthesia. So you're awake for all of the most painful things that a human being could ever experience.
It's like sleep paralysis with knives.
I'm just glad to be a human in the era where anesthesia exists, and that Ta'ana is not my doctor, because she is a singularly bad doctor.
Yeah, right?
Plus, I'm allergic to cats, so that'd just be terrible the whole way around.
Oh, that's too bad. I think you're the only one here that doesn't have a cat.
There's 2 on my bed right
man.
now.
We got a cat you up. Everybody's sending cats to his house right now.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, gonna send
Just
you a
mail
cat
it.
Christmas
Cat
yard.
Cat distribution system.
I can find a cat in the pet section on Amazon, right? I mean, that's where I can find cats. I don't know
At
where
the
to
very
get
least on
cats.
I'm sure on Facebook Marketplace.
I
Yes.
found my cat
Oh,
on
yeah.
Facebook like
Aw.
8 years ago
Oh,
now.
wow.
She was like found
Nice.
under someone's porch along with a bunch of other
Aw.
kittens. And so they like
Aw.
spayed them and neutered them and whatever, and then we're like, okay.
I think that's how you get a cat.
Yeah.
All right. So the follow-up to that is, how does Ta'ana still have a Starfleet commission after denying pain management to patients?
This is the
Yeah,
least
that's
of what she's done. She's assaulted like multiple crew members.
Diplomatic immunity?
I don't know. The Cerritos is a bad ship we've established. And, I just get the feeling like Starfleet isn't paying that much attention to it on the whole. And things are just
Right.
slided by because it's a hell of a lot easier to just let these people have a rare win than it is to replace them with a whole new gaggle of just as inexperienced people.
And they also have EMHs. So
That's true.
the thing is, like, the times that she has assaulted people have been these sort of impulses. It's never like this premeditated idea that she goes out into the world and wants to assault people. It's just like people trigger her, and she can't manage it. And that's a whole other issue. But with this, it's like this is a standard operating procedure for her to not dispense pain medication at all.
Yeah.
Especially since we saw she used a chainsaw before. That's
Yeah.
Yep.
So I really have no idea how this doctor would, like, I mean, most of the upper deckers that we'll, discuss later, but like, I don't know how they are able to keep their commission.
It is kind of funny because like there are times you're like, yes, I can take Lower Decks seriously as a Star Trek show despite how funny it is. And then Dr. Ta'ana like shows up and does her Ta'ana like feral cat routine, and you're like, oh, okay, this only goes so far.
Okay, I have a question. How do we feel about like Tiana's main comedic beats, which seem to be like spewing like filthy words that they obviously censor for the laugh of it being censored? They don't really have to censor those words, right? Like that's part of the joke, is that they're like censoring words that don't need to be censored. Sometimes it works for me, and sometimes it doesn't, depending on how it's phrased.
I was more concerned with the rearrange my guts statement.
That was something, yeah.
Ma'am, you're at
That's
work.
right, didn't you, McMahon?
And also sort of like coercing the nurse on staff to, ramp up the pain being doled out to this Cation doctor over the course of this entire episode, regardless of how uncomfortable they were. Like, I know it's a silly ass cartoon, but like, Charisse mentioned in our group chat, like, this is like, I don't understand what's supposed to be funny about this anymore.
There's also a marked difference between being able to stand a lot of pain and having your atoms split. I mean,
yeah.
Wouldn't that cause like a nuclear reaction?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, did she explode in sickbay? Or Cation's just built different?
I really would like to say that I found like all the animation around her very, very entertaining and funny to watch. And the moment where she gets like shot at by that clippet, and he is just shocked that she didn't immediately die because he had it set to kill. Her face contorts like into madness a second before she attacks him, and it's such a beautiful piece of animation for this show. Like this isn't my favorite like show as far as design goes, but when they really let their animators kind of loose and they allow them to break model, it really helps the entertainment value of the show. And that's very good.
Yeah, it's improved quite a bit since season 1, even, because I went back and watched a couple of those episodes, and it's really flat back then.
Everybody moves now in a way that's a little more like it has more gravity to it, I've noticed. Like when people sit down, like the weight of their body sits down with them. Whereas before, I think it was very just quick and flat. Like people would just sit down with no anticipation.
Amazing
Right.
the difference a budget can make.
Hmm.
Yeah, my family noticed specifically that in this one there was more shading going on than a lot of other
Yeah.
episodes.
Oh yeah, especially when they introduced the upper deckers, they went hardcore there.
And it's not like very deep shaded, but even just having it there really helps make it feel more lived in, helps make it more feel cinematic.
Hmm. So moving over to uh, Tana's boyfriend, do you think Shax has been dealing with PTSD since at least the Bajoran Resistance, or do you think it's because of his experience with the Black Mountain?
I think that's what's like manifested it into like actual spiritual hallucinations. But I think he's always been dealing with like the PTSD of both like yeah, the occupation and being part of the resistance.
Hmm.
I think it gives I thought like similar to Kira Nerys, it gives a lot of context around his character and why he reacts the way that he does and why he's suited to a security position. And I love the meditation aspect of this sort of astral projecting fighting. I would assume that it comes in waves and probably gets triggered kind of here and there. But the fact that he was in a meeting and saw a hallucination in the meeting, apropos nada, um, indicates to me that this is a pretty strong thing that he's been dealing with.
It felt almost like a version of a Pon Far type thing. It's like, oh, it's time for that again. All right, let's go.
I thought they did a really good job of working the click it takeover into Shax's plot and like we're wrapping his plot up in a nice little
Hmm.
bow. Like there's a couple of moments in this show where I thought we were kind of taking the easy way out as far as convenient like plot devices. and, but yeah, like this whole bit where they just come in
Right.
while he's in the middle of this like intense astral meditation that he's trying to do. It's very irritating watching how they connect and like how he's taking his anger out on his like history. It's fascinating.
It just kind of seemed like he killed a guy. Like we
When
don't
he
know about
wakes up,
Clickett anatomy, but like he hugged a guy so hard he apparently cracked. If it wasn't his spine, it was definitely his exoskeleton.
He apologized.
yeah, like,
Oh, so you're dead,
he's
buddy.
very
Sorry,
sorry. He shouldn't really be sorry, but like he has no idea of who they were or what they were up to, so he's just like, oh.
And if he's been dealing with this PTSD flashback in this manner over the long term, there's the possibility of injuring fellow crew members if they were happen to walk in. So I just wonder how you managed to get away with doing this in the long term if this seems to be his go-to strategy for coping. So I just
Why
wonder,
did
like, yeah.
why did he lock his door? You know, like why did he lock his door? Like they could do that, right? Like they're not such a weird like fascistic thing that they always have to have open doors on the Cerritos. Like, come on, they could have locked his door, you know. Maybe that's part of it too. Like, oh, I left my door open and I attacked these guys. Like into this.
Also,
Yeah.
meditating or not, I just wouldn't sneak up on Shax. I just wouldn't.
Hmm.
Oh
Like,
God
that.
no. Shax is probably the most interesting part of the episode for me because I felt like it had the deepest core about what it was exploring. The ransom one felt pretty weak, like a lot of our ransom subplots do.
Yeah, but apparently that's calculated.
Sure, whatever.
Literally weaponized incompetence.
How did I put that when I wrote that question?
How do we feel about the little flirtation he has with the with the person below him as like they're leaving and he's kind of talking to himself? I don't know if I like that. I don't know if that's good to be giving him some like kind of reward like that. I don't know.
Your question, Scott, and moving on, has Ransom perfected motivational incompetence?
That's it. Because yeah, it's kind of like he's so dumb and bad at his job, and everybody around him does better just to spite him.
Mm-hmm.
Not despite him, to spite him.
I wonder if it started out as a plan, or if he just kind of realized the way he was, things were working out, so he just went full forth, just accepted it.
I just can't imagine a world where anything that man did was on purpose for this. I mean, that could have gone in any direction. And like, this was well into the invasion after all these shuttles were being damaged, and he's just chilling. He just seems so relaxed. I just, and like, if halfway through he's like lifting some equipment to like buff himself out, like, this is not a purposeful, intentional strategy. I just can't imagine it.
You know what? How much of a Chad was the guy above Ransom, you know, before he got on the Cerritos? Like, where did he become the Ransom that he is today? Like, that guy must have been a real, you know, idiot, you know, just a real person that
Fair
did
point.
not get anything done. Like, I just Ransom is one of these characters, like in comedy shows like this, where they kind of test the boundaries of what's allowed in your show. Like, I think that's been a problem with Lower Decks for a while. Like, we're constantly showing incompetence to the point where it feels like silly that Starfleet isn't getting involved more and keeping an eye on things.
Yeah, the other question, you can throw your answer in here because it's basically the same. How does Ransom have a job still?
Because I just think, like, this is what if somebody just heard about TNG offhandedly and heard about Riker, this is the kind of person they would imagine. But Riker is so, like, he knows how to turn professionalism on at the switch of a button. Like, he is on, and he is on task, and he is like, you do this, you do this. He is master delegator. I would even say even more than Picard. He is the XO. So Ransom is like Riker without any competence, and is just a slut and super vain.
Ransom's Riker if he never got the beard.
Oh yeah,
Right.
He's trying.
Well, you did just start a phrase about Riker with the term master and end with aider, so.
Also accurate, undoubtedly. Ransom is, he's just a walking HR violation. Also, if this was like an intentional strategy, like, it didn't work on Ollie, like, it seemingly didn't, like, Mariner seemed to also get better, like, despite him, but not, like, because of anything he did.
Yeah, Norman, I'm going to be kind of upset if we don't come back to Chur Olivia before the end of this thing. Of course, there's a lot of stuff I'm going to be upset about, and we only got 2 episodes left. There's no way we're coming back to everything.
What is the season? Like, did they know they were not going to have another one? Because this really feels like they didn't.
Yeah, they kind of did.
Well, I mean, they knew their contract was up, but I think they were hoping for a new one.
Yeah,
They were still even a couple months ago talking about, oh, maybe Netflix will pick us up or something.
This season just feels like it has no weight to it. Like, as far as like a story going forward to an ending for whatever Lower Decks is, like, if they knew during production that this is when their contract's going up, they probably should. I feel like they should have worked a little harder to make that like matter.
It does feel flow wise like they're banking on syndication or something, because it just feels like each
Yeah,
episode is its own sealed off thing.
Right.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Speaking of things that don't quite align with where we are, let's take ourselves out of the Upper Deckers plots. Was this supposed to be a Halloween episode?
God, I'm wondering that too. Like that whole thing at the
Yes.
beginning.
Yeah, that just
Like,
came to me today.
Yeah.
Because they're
That
doing
was-
a lot of.
Very odd with when this episode aired.
Mhm.
I also thought Starbase 80 was supposed to maybe fall around Halloween.
Damn,
That's
So
Starbase
what
maybe
I thought was a Halloween episode too. Yeah.
maybe the whole series was supposed to be like pushed back a month so that they both aired in October. I don't know.
Where did they even
love
get
this
the
bit.
pumpkins?
The
Replicator?
aeroponics bay?
Like, why doesn't Boimler know what Halloween is? Aren't they all from
Good
Earth?
point.
Wait,
Oh,
he
no,
does know
maybe-
what Halloween is. He was gonna
Yeah,
be
Yeah.
fucking
He was
Pike
Pike
for
for
Halloween.
Halloween, so he knows
Oh.
what it is.
No, but he says, how come Rutherford knows more about Earth history than we, or like,
Oh.
what-
Or
Tendi.
Flynn,
No,
Yeah,
it was,
sorry.
yeah.
it was Tendi, and she was saying that they were used to like protect people's houses from demons, which is true from like Samhain when they were actually turnips. Horrifying things, by the way.
Yeah, the turnips needed to go. Like, those were really
So I
horrifying.
assume that's what she was referring to, which I guess Boimler didn't know. Although Boimler's the kind of nerd I would actually expect to know that.
True.
True. He did know about carving them because I think he said something, oh, I thought they were just to look cool or something. So he did know the tradition of carving, just not the original purpose.
I absolutely adore these intricate carvings they made in the pumpkins. Like it doesn't feel real, but I guess with their tools, it's just easy, you know.
I
Template
buy it.
nowadays.
Everyone in Starfleet's amazing at everything.
I mean, this is also like a sort of like to the fandom too, because you see in like Star Trek shit posting tons of stuff like this. Now we got like zillions elf on the shelf memes, but you know, during Halloween everybody's carving pumpkins.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best pumpkins I've ever seen was whoever did like the Boimler from Naked Time with the censor bar and all. That's one of the best jack lanterns I've ever seen in my life. All right, let's have a look at the captain's plot. Why is Stevens assisting the captain and not Ransom?
Right? He's like Ransom. What? Well, it kind of started like Ransom's bro, and then he's just kind of his tag along.
Yeah,
Maybe
we never
he got
really. Yeah, we never really knew what Stevens did, and apparently either there's that position that Naomi Wildman was always bucking for her as captain's assistant, or there are actually captain's adjutants that we've just never seen before. You know,
Right.
we've seen them attached to admirals, but I guess captains have them too.
What about Captain Kirk's not secretary, but
Yeoman?
yeoman? Yes,
Love a good yeoman.
the yeoman.
Yeah, that's a good point. But this is like an executive officer level assisting the captain and not just like the lowest level getting you your coffee and bringing you the reports.
I just don't see an EXO doing calendaring. That to me is administrative stuff.
Listen, sometimes, like on Voyager, an ensign is at all of the staff meetings for the senior staff all the time. And sometimes on the Cerritos, you've got like executive officers doing ensign work. It's just how it is.
Damn.
Well, you've come to the wrong place if you're worried about buffering in your videos.
Yeah, we shouldn't say anything, but this is like the first time it hasn't just cut out in a while.
I mean, this
You,
is-
you
What
had,
have you
you had to
done?
say something. You
I
had to say
know.
something, man.
I might as well have said Macbeth.
Rookie mistake.
Somehow we're just going to get old school TV static now. Doesn't even make sense.
Do not adjust your set. We are controlling all that you see and hear.
I don't think we have a question about the birthing event. So I just wanted to ask
yeah.
about that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that
It's a
was
life
great
form.
thing.
I just like how often does that happen? And I love that it's like a male officer.
I love Carol kind of casually brushing off that she assumed they were human. Yeah, you can
It's a
scratch
life
that off of the head. Like,
I would wear that merch.
I don't know anybody that's having a baby, but I would get them that balloon.
Yeah, I want the It's a Life Form like T-shirt and coffee mug and balloon.
It looked great on a cake too.
Truly, I
Right?
necessary for every like not gender reveal.
That was such
Oh
a-
god, you can start calling them non-gender reveals. That
Species
is
reveal.
excellent.
Yes.
I loved how violent it was, and everybody was standing there watching it. It wasn't just like, oh, let's visit somebody that's about to give birth. No, we're gonna watch the actual birth.
Good point.
Pageantry of it.
hey, it's a very special tradition between cadet and captain, okay? Don't look down on it. Look at that. That's beautiful.
Congratulations.
Since we never
Creation
saw
of
him,
life.
I had to wonder if this is the same species as Vixel Prawn from DS9 that they keep. It's a recurring joke. Oh, it's Prawn is budding, or he's budding.
Oh, are they hatching?
Is it this
They look
like a
like they're gonna be
milkman
hatchlings.
baby? Because it doesn't look like the other parent either.
Oh,
Hmm.
You
they
are
have
not
milkmen in outer
the
space?
person.
you are not the other parent.
I do like the mix of like wacky stuff going on with like the very silly, like mundane stuff that's happening, like the invasion juxtaposed with it's time to go to a birthing. Now it's time to go to Lieutenant Barnes's concert or Ensign Barnes's concert.
Winger Bingston. Like,
I am so happy that after this being a thing that we've heard about in the past, that we finally come to Winger Bingston Jr.'s one-man show. Which I hadn't thought about it when I did my review, but I have to wonder if that in itself is like a callback to Patrick Stewart and all the one-man shows that he's done, like Christmas Carol, and he's done a few others, but Christmas Carol is his big one.
This
Was
was
he-
really accurate. This was really accurate to every bad one-man show I've seen in my life, which is about 3.
About 3.
3 is enough.
I wanted to hear about the Ober thing.
You're damn right it is, Scott. You're damn right it is.
Was he like trying to be Barkley, dramatized?
He sounded a lot like Barkley, yeah, with what he was saying. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good
Which makes
point.
it even
Chris.
worse,
It
'cause
is.
not as if-
It's a lot like that.
Yeah, and that makes it even worse because not only is he doing a one-man show, it's not even original.
Derivative one-man show.
Oh, hi, didn't see you beam in there.
So yeah, following up in the veins of Freeman and what she's got going on, why was it vital for Freeman to schedule watching a single man performing besides the Data Riker reference?
I guess you
No.
owed him a favor.
No one else was in the audience. Like nobody.
Yeah, there were at least a couple at Barnes's concert besides them. Nobody was watching Winger Bingston.
Hey, you know what? I was impressed by Barnes. I don't care what anyone says about her caveman unibrow.
Advanced caveman. Evolved caveman.
Yeah, an evolved cavewoman.
Was that like a Genesis reference?
Sorta, yeah.
I wasn't thinking about prog rock when she came up there.
But
I can't find the picture of her actually doing her performance, but yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a reference to TNG's Genesis. There's no way it wasn't.
I loved that episode as a kid.
What's up?
Like, cat iguana was my favorite part.
Oh, I thought,
Spock iguana.
okay. I thought for a second she didn't still have her spots. Never mind.
ooh.
Nope, she's still gone.
Yeah.
cave trill. Which
Oh,
still
does
live
the
in caves,
symbiont-
so I guess never
Does the
mind.
symbiont evolve and devolve too?
I hope so.
Well, that's a good question. Stevens
Stevens is
was,
with
at least until he fell asleep at Winger Bingston's.
I hate when I fall asleep at Winger Bingston's.
Well, maybe you shouldn't stay so long and get drunk, okay?
You need something to get through it.
I did like the sort of nudge, similar to when Data was reciting his cat poem
Hold it
and
up,
when fell
spot.
asleep.
Oh my gosh.
Oh god. You're
Oh
gonna make
my
me do it.
gosh.
You're gonna make me do it.
Oh no, he's got it.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
Felis catus is your taxonomic nomenclature an endothermic quadruped, carnivorous by nature? Your visual, olfactory, and auditory senses contribute to your hunting skills and natural defenses. Oh, Spot. The complex levels of behavior you display connote a fairly well-developed cognitive array. And though you are not sentient, Spot, and do not comprehend, I nonetheless consider you a true and valued friend.
oh.
Kitty.
She's always doing alert.
Was that his denouement? Was that...
This is just a cat show now.
Because it can be a toy, Charisse. Because it can be.
I mean, why not? The only question is why you
on.
don't have one also. Everyone should have an ode to Spot.
I agree
I have a
with
toy Tribble. Anything from this universe can be a toy. I have a toy Tribble over there.
I bet that was hard to make.
I didn't.
Ta-da!
Actually. I could have. I made my stuffed Moopsie,
Ooh.
that. Yeah.
and that is
I forgot you
safely
had
hidden
that.
away. Really, it killed me once. Do we not remember this?
Oh.
Better
I
watch
found
that
the
it doesn't
background,
multiply.
Y'all are making me wish I was a toy boy now. I don't have any toys.
This is all Christmas stuff, so I don't have this out the other,
I'll just
10 and
get
a half
my
months of the
great
year.
combination here. So.
Oh, cool.
Baby, it's okay.
Oh, your Spot is not happy.
Oh.
There's something in the ceiling. I fear it might be a squirrel using my ceiling to store nuts. We're figuring out what to do about it.
Yeah, I've had that happen past years. It's fun. So, why did Billip stray from his warm cereal breakfast when him's tum-tum is so sensitive?
Oh.
Because it's the engineers who truly live.
He just
I think
needed a
Bill's-
boring setup.
I think Phillips does like living on the edge in a certain way, but like he's such a bland guy that everything else besides like working on giant engineering panels that could explode at any minute is very like low grade, very very unnoticeable.
But he's a prince on a planet with dragons. He's
Should
not.
have been a
Yeah.
He's
king.
not. Or king. Oh,
He could
Well-
have been. Not yet.
and also bagels have a lot of edges. So, yeah, it's like it.
Oh boy.
But wasn't that part of the beginning of Starbase 80's problems? Didn't he have something for breakfast that day also?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like he usually has worm cereal for breakfast, and he may have upset his stomach. Like even the lower deckers are aware of his gastro problems. Dude's got major IBS or something.
Ooh, I hadn't thought about it, but I wonder if that's a callback to like the one with the whales where Scotty and the Klingon food doesn't agree with him.
Oh.
Irritable Billups syndrome?
Nice.
Yeah, we didn't have anything else for questions for Billups. If anybody has anything else you want to get in there.
They mentioned something about like the malfunction in engineering having to do with his lack of maintenance. And I guess that may be why he didn't tell anybody else. I guess, like, how did this go unnoticed by anybody else? You know, like the panels are all hot. Like, this is a pretty major malfunction.
I blame
This is
Leonard.
how they all still have jobs. They're all blackmailing each other with their various like negligence and incompetence.
I love after fixing everything, they're just eating and drinking by the warp core as if that didn't cause a problem last episode.
And if this hadn't been an episode where we're purposely avoiding the lower deckers, this feels like the perfect time where Rutherford should have been there to help with these problems. Especially since we haven't really seen him for more than 30 seconds an episode all goddamn season.
Someone also brought up
His
that
beard's gone
Keyshawn
now.
isn't really featured in this episode either. And he's an upper decker, so what the heck?
Or Miggly Moo, but he got a plot earlier in the season at least.
Oh, AI. I thought it said Al Golem.
Al Golem!
Al Golem!
It will protect you, but very boringly.
It sounds like a used car dealership. Come on down, Al Golems!
It was a bummer that we got this other crew member in lieu of Rutherford helping out Phillips and engineering, honestly.
Well, they kind of had
Before
to
we
with
get-
the premise.
Before we get too far from Billups, I'd really like to just kind of point out how great Paul Shear's performance is as Billups. Like the calm, like confidence he displays at every moment is so fun to listen to. it really has a lot of character. He's a great voice actor. It's fantastic stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, I loved him in both The League and his limited role in The Good Place.
Oh my
Yeah, he has
gosh,
a
right.
he has a movie podcast I used to listen to quite a bit too. That was fun.
Nice. I think the only other thing we had about the plots themselves, why is Shax only now discovering therapy at the end when he's talking to Miggly Moo?
Because Miggly Mo's a terrible therapist.
You would think it would be mandatory for like crewmen who have come back from the dead.
Fair point.
I mean, you think
Yeah.
Dr. Ta'ana should have been in therapy at least once or twice too.
Yeah, but also he's a Bajoran, and let's face it, they're somehow all super faithful. And I think there's definitely a connection there to people who are like anti-therapy because they figure their faith is strong enough for them to be able to handle anything.
Also, usually when someone is dealing with something and to the level where therapy is really necessary, that would come from the chief medical officer, like an order to go to therapy, I think. And I don't think Ta'ana is competent enough to recognize that need and prescribe such a thing. I think Miggly Moo did such a great job in this scene of framing therapy as like a way to sort of assist in his battle with his past self. That may not be exactly what he's going to do in therapy, because I don't think he's quite that familiar with like Bajoran subconscious astral projection necessarily, but like I thought that was a good selling point.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it for Shax.
I think if somebody came up to me and was like, I want to make you a warrior through therapy, I would think that was kind of dumb, but I think for Shax it works.
Like I also think like he's been struggling with, he went on the Black Mountain, has PTSD from being in the resistance and everything. There is a therapist on board. He is aware of what therapy is, like to just not even regard it until like someone sort of planted the idea in his head just seems preposterous to me.
So, moving off of the plots themselves as a whole, was this episode inevitable?
I say yes, and not only because I'm the one who asked it.
It definitely feels like had this show gone past just a few episodes, they were inevitably going to give us an exploration of the higher ups. They may not have known that it was going to be this sort of exploration of them, but I think they always intended this type of episode.
Yeah, because like you're talking about the episode that inspired the whole series was basically this, but reversed.
Right. I agree with Scott. The entire conceit of Lower Decks is based off of TNG's Lower Decks, and to not reverse it wouldn't make sense.
And to put it in the final season, whenever that came, was probably always the plan too.
And it was never going to be as serious because they weren't going to kill somebody off.
I kind
You
of
didn't
feel
think
like
the Clickets were a real threat?
I kind of feel like it's the obvious move to just show like one episode as the Upper Decks episode. I just wish like maybe this had become like a special, like we had a two-parter going on here to stretch this stuff out a little bit and maybe get a better resolution at the end of it. You know, I feel like you're kind of wasting away an opportunity for better storytelling. And I think like this episode suffers from a lot of what other Lower Decks episodes suffer from, and that it's only, you know, about half an hour, just a little under half an hour, so it doesn't quite have as much time to explore its conceits as other Trek series do.
Aww.
Your cat
Really,
is.
really wants to eat the squirrel. He wants it so bad.
You got to start cutting some holes in your wall and ceiling so it can get up there. That's all there is to it.
Does your squirrel have a goth friend?
So, on the other side of this being inevitable, are lower deckers more qualified to run the ship's main functions than the upper deckers?
I would trust Tendi more as a doctor than Ta'ana, like, for sure.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
Rutherford is also definitely a more by-the-books engineer.
Cycling her out of the medical bay was, oh no.
And there he goes.
Oh no.
That took long enough.
Now you run the stream, Scott.
Oh, can I?
All
Well,
down
we're in the middle of
before I'm
conversation.
bored.
I was really like unhappy with Tendi being sort of cycled out of the medical bay. I think she was the source of sanity in that, and I would definitely put her in Ta'ana's place any day of the week.
Yeah, that's fair.
Do you think that's going to be part of the ending? Do you think they're going to move up and replace anyone or move off the ship? Or where do you think we're going with that?
Who knows?
I mean-
That's the way they've been doing it this season.
I mean, the last episode is titled The New Next Generation, and who knows what that could mean. The original Next Generation was like, oh yeah, we got this new show, and it's a century after the original. Could be headed all the way to the end of the 2400s. Who knows?
Maybe they're getting promoted to the Enterprise.
Oh, right. They just move up to a capital ship.
Maybe they all go to the Titan with Riker. I don't know. Feels like Frakes wants to show up again.
Like Boimler, I don't think could replace Ransom at all. Like, not to say that like Boimler isn't competent, but he's so unsure of himself.
Maybe
But
the
like
beard will
Ransom
help.
can't do his job.
I mean, he has spent a whole year growing a beard, though.
He's
I
big
think
bearded
beard will
Boimler now.
Whatever happened to Bointers?
One
They
and
give me
done.
some more pointers.
We need a Bointer in the finale, just as a callback.
Right. There
There
he
you
is.
are, buddy.
Welcome.
I guess I'm here for now.
We blame Scott.
Ransome's back.
You
Here,
had to
Did
Vanessa,
ever-
I
Did
need to
everybody get
wipe
picked
some
up
of the
first? or-
dust off your Welcome Back Cotter reference.
Actually, you were the only one who did.
Okay, well that's better than everybody. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Although it looks like you and like half of the audience.
Whoops. Uh-oh.
Oh.
Oh,
Control.
well.
No, that's me. That's
Okay.
fine.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good.
Danger,
Do we need-
danger.
Do we need another question?
If we have
Or-
more, yeah, because
Oh, we
Yeah,
haven't
there's
talked
a
about the
couple more.
Clickets, I guess.
Yeah. Did you remember that the Clickets were a thing that existed and that we'd seen before? Because I'm
Little
going to
bit.
admit, I did not. I did not remember.
Not
Little
even a
bit.
little.
That is
Veritas, for anyone wondering.
yeah, that's a first season deep cut because they weren't even like the main aliens in that one.
The design looked vaguely familiar to me, but I had no recollection.
Once they were like, we freezed off before indignantly, I was like, oh yeah. I vaguely remember them. Vaguely, but I could not have told you what episode they were in until I Googled it.
And like, how successful of an invader can you be if all you need to have, used as an offensive is compliments? Like, if you haven't built a defense against that, like,
They're
how are
not
you?
formidable. They
You
don't
guys have
even
to
let
really-
Ulysses it and put like wax in their ears. Like, come on.
Eris, every time I watch this episode, that makes me want to bang my head against the fucking wall. Because it's like, you're the worst villain in Star Trek history. You literally can't take a compliment. You suck that bad as a villain that you can, like, go into the ship and almost take it over between these, like, entirely incompetent people. But your people can't handle a compliment. Like, that's the worst way to end this episode, to like wrap this episode up in. I hated it so much.
I
I don't
respect
remember the
you.
Clickets. I don't care about it.
I don't think they're the
Trying to do the
worst.
best thing for his crew, and I respect you for it.
I think
They
they're
couldn't use the
definitely worse.
Packlands again.
And it's perfectly on brand with like the Tellarites. So
Yeah, there's several
it's
species.
not
Yeah.
new.
It's like the Tellarites, that guy from when Wesley went to the academy, who he had to insult by calling him a
the one
slime worm or whatever.
Van.
The Denebians.
And yeah, there's something else. It's just the antithesis of the cultures you have to insult because that's how they communicate. So it's like the opposite of that.
It was very
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're going to take over a ship, you don't really expect to be complimented for it, especially the people
Sure.
you're conquering.
But
And they would have gotten away
Great
with
job
it.
taking me
Those
over.
meddling bridge officers in the meeting bringing that up. They're one
The
week.
thing is, like, Starfleet has information about aliens all across the galaxy. To sort of invade a Federation starship, you would have to assume that they haven't been made aware of this particular offensive strategy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. No one in this episode really came off as the brightest until the very end when the captain put two and two together.
I did like Carol's line about being into their vibe, but like that was actually very funny. It sounded like an older person trying to be hip. Like that gave me a laugh.
Yeah, she was vibing.
And Norman, their disguise there was definitely Jaroshinyo,
Yep.
present. I thought I had a picture. Oh, there he is.
I thought he was a Nausicaan.
The Grazerite.
Disguise.
Nope, the Grazerites, and I don't even know that they ever said it on screen, but Memory Alpha and Norman, like he said, confirmed it.
Is he the only one we had seen previously from those two episodes?
I think so. I say that, and I'm sure there's like another one somewhere.
Right.
Okay, I had no more questions on our list. Do you guys have anything else you wanted to get into?
How do we feel about the romantic ending between the captain and Admiral?
It was cute. I forget
love
she's
it.
married.
Yeah, literally the first time we've seen them in the same place.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was cute that her assistant set this up as sort of like a surprise. I enjoyed that. I think that obviously took some planning. And, to get her husband there without her knowledge at all on the day of their anniversary is pretty good admin footwork.
And not even let Mariner know he was coming.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta tell you, I didn't even realize Carol had a living husband. I don't know. Maybe I just hadn't been paying enough attention in seasons previous, but it never felt like they were ever going to show him or do anything with him. So that came as a real surprise to me.
I originally thought they were divorced, like way back when we first saw them,
Yeah.
Right.
or whatever the future equivalent is.
It really puts other relationships in track in perspective, like the Strange New Worlds thing, where Pike is like, you know, trying to make it work long distance. But it seems like with Freeman and her husband, they don't even really, you don't ever see them talking.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's part of the reason why I wasn't anticipating a husband to actually show up on the ship because there's never real there's never a real attempt to show her talking to him or making their relationship up in the forefront.
Yeah, it was usually only when they had to discuss a problem with their daughter.
Yeah.
And that's like that would lend itself again to being divorced, like only talking about your
Yeah.
kid. Also,
point.
like even Janeway, when she was in the Delta Quadrant, had a picture of her fiance on her desk, and
Mark.
you know
Oh, wow.
that relationship split, but that was a discussion, you know. So
Yeah. And this is a time when I wish I knew where the list of questions was.
Oh, I think
what
we
does
pretty much went
everybody
through
think
all of them.
is what does everybody think is going to happen in the next 2 episodes to wrap up this entire series? Because it got 2.
The overarching plot line is most likely going to be wrapped up in the next episode, and it'll probably feel a little too fast. I only assume because
think
it's
it'll be too
literally named Fisher Quest.
Are you referring to Boimler's beard, Scott?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm saying he just needs to get rid of this part and maybe like trim up the sideburns a little bit. He needs to go more Cisco than Riker.
Should he Cisco the top too?
I actually won't be surprised if he ends up that way. just by accident.
But alternate Boimler had a full head of hair, so
Could have been
Yeah,
fake.
so we are 0.35%, 357% different.
All right,
It's
before
the
this thing
future. Anyone
kicks,
can make hair.
before this thing kicks me out again, let's do our out of tens and start wrapping up. Vanessa, why don't you start since you're on top, and we'll go around.
yeah, the season keeps getting better and better, even though it doesn't really, you know, address the bigger questions. I really enjoyed this episode in spite of the Tana plot. So I'm giving it an 8.
Oh yeah, me. Honestly, yeah, this is pretty high up on the list. I mean, it is obviously a natural successor to TNG's Lower Decks. You get to see a little bit of what everybody's capable of doing, you know, in the background while the Lower Deckers are doing all the work. We get looks at people we haven't seen in a while, like Ensign Miranda with Billups, and like the guy in the shuttle bay. That's actually Fedorov, according to the credits. I'm like, oh wow, first time in 5 seasons we haven't seen him in a towel.
I still assume he
And-
was wearing the towel under the suit though, and nothing else.
Right. Yeah, right.
It better be.
Yeah, right. I swear I had something that brought it down, but I can't remember what it is. And as usual, I'm not writing these things down. So, yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9.
Yeah.
So, mentioned divorce earlier. I think divorced from the moment it took place watching this as we're going now, this episode's probably going to be looked at a little more fondly when people can get over the fact that it just didn't do anything with the main arc again. I liked seeing a lot of the main characters, or I guess the main bridge crew is actually like the side characters, have what's possibly their last moment to shine in what remains of the series. And not all of the little stories were equal, but I think they were so well balanced that I never really found myself feeling like I didn't care about any of them. So I'll probably say maybe about a 8.25.
I'm only at about a 7, and I'll be honest. I would only give it a 6.5 because I think it's a perfectly average, very just normal on-brand bit of Lower Decks. It's not the like 10 that Lower Decks was for TNG. It's very interesting, quite good. And the thing that gives it the extra half is I can't believe we didn't talk about this whole stream. We canonized why there are rocks in the ceilings and consoles.
Oh, that's
I
right.
love
Oh,
it. That's
yeah.
one of my favorite things that we learned in this. But still, I can't go any higher than a 7. I think it's quite good and very on brand for Lower Decks. Go ahead, Robbie.
I'm just going to give it a flat 7 because I think this is exactly what we've come to expect from Lower Decks, for better or for worse. It's very entertaining. There were tons of moments in this episode I got a kick out of. There's plenty of fun callbacks. I'm not feeling the crickets at all, but that's at least a good callback. It's at least an interesting thing to do out of nowhere. It gets your audience a little bit on edge if they get it to the way it's set up.
Mhm.
But it just it has a it has like a sitcom level approach to everything it does as a show. And I think it's ultimately its biggest weakness as a Star Trek property because it simultaneously wants me to like think about and be in love with and be reverent to Star Trek lore and history while putting its characters in things that would never happen in live action Star Trek. We would never allow a doctor to basically torture her patients simply because she doesn't have the empathy enough to give them anesthesia because she doesn't feel pain. Like that. I
Yeah.
don't know. Like it's just lacking a lot of just basic intelligence about how it presents its characters, and it turns them into literal cartoons beyond the cartoons they actually are. Like I think it's just a little bit insulting. Like if you're really tearing it apart, like we've had 5 seasons of this, and this is the best we're doing on a character level for these interesting characters. Like I just feel like this is on bordering on a miss, even though I was so entertained by it, and I wish like this show could find a better balance between sitcom shenanigans and actual like Star Trek like lore and Star Trek history. I just yeah, I can't do anything but give it a 7.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'll give it like a 7.5 to be generous because I do like that we got to explore the like dynamics between the deckers a little bit more and see sort of like a little window into their lives. I mean, I like a filler episode, and this felt like a filler episode. None of these plots were really that consequential except for maybe Shax's. Otherwise, it was just like kind of a goofy new perspective from the upper deckers and the various like other crewmen besides our mains that they work with on a day-to-day basis. Like the ransom stuff was fine. The Ta'ana stuff was a thing. It existed. The Billups storyline was fine. The Shaq storyline was the most interesting, and the Captain storyline was fine. It was fine. There were a few jokes that I liked. There were a lot of great little moments, but overall, like it was very middle of the road for me. And I think I'm being less charitable to it than I normally would because we have so few episodes left. And if we're gonna take a whole episode where we like don't do anything with our main cast, like I want it to like really like hit. And this one just kind of felt like, okay, it was all right.
That is kind of a major difference between this one and the Lower Decks, because like the ensigns in Lower Decks, like everything they were doing throughout the course of the episode kind of served the main plot of that Cardassian spy, whereas these are more the officers kind of left to their own devices until it comes together in the end.
Yeah. much more unconsciously doing stuff that happens to tie together than like actively working together.
Right.
And I think that's also kind of a shame because it like we don't get to see as much of like how they all work as a team to like problem solve on the upper decks end of things, because like Mariner's kind of right, like of course it is their show, but like they do be solving most of the problems.
I did like that wonderfully like fourth wall breaking bit there. But oh yeah, we're the stars of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that made me chuckle too.
Yeah, Tasha brought up, I guess, when we were talking a little bit ago about the Freemans getting together and we'll always have Paris. But yeah, why is Mariner like so dismissive? Like, you didn't see him. No.
She didn't like seem like she wanted to see her dad.
Well, I think it's more that she thinks she has her finger on the pulse of everything that's happening, that there's no possible way he could be there and she wouldn't know about it. So it might have just been very dismissive of the fact that it's true.
Also, she's very much used to them being apart, maybe not divorced, but apart. And having them together is like, kind of puts a little more pressure on her to be on her best behavior because he is an admiral.
An
God, why
actual
the hell do you go?
Yeah.
Why the hell do you go to Starfleet if your parents are like above you like your whole life? That sounds like hell. Like it's hard enough trying to please your parents without being in the military with them. Like Jesus.
That's I guess that's sort of like Tom Paris, like the army brat conundrum, you know.
Mm. I've seen the speculation that this ransom is supposed to be the son of the ransom from Equinox, so he could be dealing with a similar Nepo baby thing.
Oh.
Yeah, I hope not.
Well, that would give him more character than just working out and falling asleep.
Yeah. Any final? Go ahead, Scott.
I'll say, yeah, I mean, we could have just had like one throwaway line where Ransom's like, yeah, my dad was on the Equinox and it disappeared somewhere. But then we also be like, yeah, but we know the kind of person he became, so.
Well, and Voyager is back now, so people probably would know unless they kept it a secret.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on this episode or questions?
What about the little animals? I can't remember their name. The bugaboos or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bagoons.
I absolutely love them destroying the hull and like smashing into shuttles. That was so great.
And Norman, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a little too, not problematic, but obvious if Section 31 or William Boimler's what's behind the Fishers. But yeah, it's one of those many things like, oh, you should have come back to this.
At the same time, they haven't dropped any real evidence to what it is, so I don't know.
I think it could be a movie tie-in.
That's a good point.
If it's a Section 31 thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
If Jack Quaid
I thought you were
shows up in
talking about
that'd be great. But
yeah, I thought you were talking about like a future movie for Lower Decks, because I think we've got to have a Crisis Point 3 on like the big screen at some point.
They could do a movie through Paramount Plus for Lower Decks very easily. Like I don't see why
they could, but will they?
There's already
how well Section 31 does.
I'll tell you why it's
the comic book. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Please check that out.
What? Please repeat
the Lower Decks comic?
Comic book.
Okay.
The Lower Decks comic book is amazing.
Oh, good.
What I was saying, why I don't know that we'd get that easily, or like we were talking about, like, oh, well, maybe Lower Decks will go to Netflix or something. I don't think it will for a couple of reasons. Look how thin now Tawny Newsome is going to be stretched just within Star Trek, let alone maybe any other project she chooses to do, because she's a writer for Academy. She's the executive producer for whatever this unnamed live-action comedy Trek is going to be, and she's the host of the official TNG podcast. So, yeah, and then you got Eugene Cordero, who clearly they couldn't even get back to do Rutherford for much of this season. That would be my guess why he had so little to do. And he's had a lot of projects going on. So this really, I don't want it to be, but these next 2 episodes may be the last we see of these characters.
Oh.
If they do give us a movie, I don't think it'll be for a while, especially because with like animated characters, you don't have that much of a time crunch to, like do the movie before the actors look different. Like,
You are totally right about that, Dustin. I hadn't considered that Lower Decks is more of a side project for a lot of these other people. Like, we got some big actors like working on this thing. Yeah.
Well, at least their stars have gotten a lot bigger since it started 5 seasons ago.
I do think we do have potential to see at least Boimler and Mariner in that untitled Paradise Planet thing. I don't know if we'd see any of the rest of them, but I feel like those 2 might show up.
Not impossible. We still don't know anything about it, but what era it's set in or anything. Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. We've got 2 episodes left. We already know that I won't totally spoil it, but that one scene that pretty much everybody has wanted to see rectified is coming next episode, with a particular Voyager crew member. We'll leave it at that. I'd like to thank you guys for showing up and doing a thing here today. We're talking about Upper Decks, and for all of you that tuned in. But
and for Dustin for pulling through.
Thank you. Yeah, I have not been great for a while, but thank you. Yeah, we'll see everybody next week. Till then, live long.